Hello, can everybody hear me? Well, let me start my timer to make sure I fit in the time. Cool. Okay, so as my friend Ali was saying, and again, by the way, happy birthday, Ali, because it's his birthday, and I'm sure he did a cracking job as a moderator. So as Ali was saying, I came here as an educational consultant, which is a bit general, and this is because I just came from a digital workshop for the tech company I work for, in which we encourage people to learn digital skills. So let's say during my day-to-day job, I tackle the issue of digital skills. However, as you will see in the presentation that I prepared for you today, I'm going to focus a lot on soft skills in this presentation. I'm actually going to ignore digital skills almost completely. Ali already asked the tough questions. If you're afraid of technology like artificial intelligence, if you're afraid that robots will take over. I'm going to analyze in this presentation a bit what sort of worries that we actually should make and what sort of future we will have in terms of jobs and the skills. To start off, the era we live in is dominated by automation, which actually is changing the world we live in. Advanced robotics, computer algorithms, and artificial intelligence are not just increasing productivity in our companies, but also improving our lives. However, these two developments, especially artificial intelligence and automation, which is leading after artificial intelligence, they lead us to ask two questions, two very important questions I might add. What sort of jobs will we have in the future, and what skills will we need to perform? Probably the most talked about innovation, AI, it's actually been coined by some experts to be the lead driver of the fourth industrial revolution, the sole invention or innovation that could, some say, radically improve our lives, make our institutions more transparent, or communications more fluent, or to some degree, and according to some experts, make our life a living hell. Because this is the debate we currently have, not just in the tech community, but also in academia and other sectors. People are divided into optimists and pessimists. And if I have to focus on just the tech sector, there are the likes of Elon Musk and Bill Gates, people I'm sure you're all aware of, who usually have quite of an apocalyptic view of what AI can do to humanity. They both were quoted saying that, in their opinion, automation and AI will replace humans in the workplace, and Elon Musk in particular was quoted saying that AI is the biggest existential threat to mankind in history. So let me just repeat that, because for me, when I first read this quote, I was a bit shocked. AI is the biggest existential threat to mankind in history, according to Elon Musk. This was my first reaction. Initially I was confused, like, what? AI is good? How can he say this? And then this was my second reaction, because there's two emotional states here, at least two I noticed. Fear. First, confusion, then fear, because somebody I really look up to, like Elon Musk, is saying that AI is actually potentially, it's going to bring us, the human race, to our end. However, I'm an optimist myself, so I have to tell from the start, I'm from the optimist side. And luckily, I have some allies in this. Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Page, founders of two of the biggest companies in not just the tech community, but in the world, they both say that AI will actually be a force for good. They believe that, for instance, Mark Zuckerberg was quoted saying that AI will help us reach our full potential as humans. And he also encouraged us to choose hope over fear when we think about AI. Along similar lines, Larry Page, the founder of the company I work for, believes that AI will actually, and automation will free us from mundane work, from repetitive tasks, and now the free time we have, we can use more wisely to spend it with our family or to find new hobbies. However, we here in this room are the privileged ones, the ones that have access to internet, people who can follow, we can actually follow people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates on their Twitter. However, still billions of people in today's world don't get their news from the internet, and if they're lucky, they get them from TV. And usually the science fiction we see in TVs, in Hollywood movies, is actually predominated by this following view of AI and machines. Usually the scenario is quite bleak, quite apocalyptic, I would say. However, this scenario, even though many people around the world, this is the only take they get, they only see the pessimist side, this scenario is not backed up by either history or data. I heard one of the answers, which really well pointed out, humans have been, for centuries now already been afraid of technology, of new innovations. If we look at the first industrial revolution in the 18th century, people were afraid of what water and steam can do. Water and steam powering factories. Who would have imagined? If we look at the second and third industrial revolution, the jobs that were displaced in agriculture in the 1900s were then replaced by jobs in factories. jobs in factories in the 1950s were replaced in the knowledge economy. So there was always a substitutions for these jobs which were destroyed. And again, to reiterate this point, humans have a tendency to be afraid of what they're not comfortable with or what they don't know. But in time, they start to see the benefits. Because all the people living in the previous industrial revolutions had the standards of their lives being increased tremendously, exponentially. They lived better lives, in a nutshell. So I mentioned a bit history with the industrial revolutions. Also data, and what other company better to provide data with than McKinsey, data supports the view that automation, at least not in the short term, will not actually replace all our jobs. Only 5% of our jobs are completely automatable as of today. However, 60% of these jobs, the jobs that you and I do today, have a component at least that can be automated. A task that maybe probably, I don't know, in a year or two, can be done by machines, by RPA, like we have a famous company in Romania, Unicorn, who's doing RPA, which is a technology used to replace humans in the workplace. However, I think that the point I'm trying to make here, because I did say I'm an optimist, is that this image, and I had to struggle to find this on Google Images, because to be honest, if you type humans and robots, it's usually Terminator or iRobot. It's nothing like this collaboration. The point I'm trying to make is that we're at the beginning of the fourth industrial revolution. We have now the chance to actually guide innovation in such a way that we're going to collaborate with robots, not kill each other. Why I say this? If we look at it pragmatically, robots are much better than us already in collecting data, interpreting data, or doing high-volume, frequent, repetitive tasks which we actually don't even like to do. However, the same robots that we have today and probably will have tomorrow, they're no match for humans' dexterity and senses. Also, robots are still finding it hard to tackle new situations for which they don't have data to learn from. Consequently, I believe, at least not in the next 5 or maybe even 10 years, for creative jobs or jobs that involve managing people, they will not be automatable. They will not be replaced by robots. Maybe in 30 or 50 years, but not in the near future. So, to cut the long story short, for the key takeaways of the first part, AI context of the presentation, AI, like any other technology in history, is not morally good or bad, it's just what we make of it, how we use it. We as humans, as innovators, we have to guide innovation not just responsibly, but also ethically. As I mentioned, widespread automation will happen. It's unavoidable. We're already seeing it in our companies and in our day-to-day work. However, automation will not replace humans completely. It will replace, as I said, some tasks they do, and actually for the better, because we all have these daily annoying maybe tasks of putting numbers in the Excel. This will probably shortly be replaced by robots. And last but not least, and this is where I make the bridge with the second part of the presentation, humans will need to work with robots. And unfortunately, we're not even prepared to work with each other. So we don't have the soft skills or the digital skills to work. And I think this is what we have to focus on in the future. You're not just preparing for people for digital or soft skills, but both. It's not STEM, as you might recognize the acronym. It's not just preparing people in engineering and math. It's also preparing them in STEAM. The arts are really important, especially if you look at the news nowadays with Cambridge Analytica and all the other recent scandals of data leaks. I think it's important to train our engineers to also be philosophers, also be people who know how to analyze the bigger perspective of the world, not just their day-to-day jobs. And speaking of skills, by 2020, so in just a couple of years, the fourth industrial revolution will actually reach its first milestone. We will see what sort of impact innovations like autonomous driving or biotech will have. Artificial intelligence might even be already super intelligent artificial intelligence by then. So we will see some first results, let's say. By then, new jobs will be created, some old jobs will be replaced, but as the McKinsey study suggested, all jobs will be changed in some way or the other. If you remember at the beginning of the presentation, I was suggesting that we have to ask two questions. What jobs will we have in the future, and what sort of skills will we need? The first question, I think I already answered in a way. Just to reiterate the point, there will not be a shortage of jobs in the future, but rather a shortage of skills to perform them. This sort of circular thing of jobs being displaced, jobs being created is going to continue throughout our life, probably. Always we will have the jobs that we want. The problem is we won't be prepared, as in other times in history, to perform them. These are again some figures from the World Economic Forum in this case, and they paint a quite a bleak scenario of what's happening in educational institutions nowadays. 50% of the subject knowledge a computing science student studies in the first year of his education might already become outdated by the time he finishes university, so in 4 years. So imagine somebody studying a coding language that might in 5 years not be the main coding language used in big companies. Furthermore, 65% of the jobs elementary school students are preparing for, they don't exist anymore. So it's really, really important to prepare these young people for the future, but we don't know what the future will look like. Not just the careers are a problem, but again, what sort of skills do we have to teach these young people? And to be honest, before I actually deliver the exact skills I came here to share with you, I want to make a short, I would say a personal mention of what I believe this whole skills gap is. Because more and more research says that the skills gap is widening. What we are taught in school, what I was taught in school, and probably many of you here in this room, is not, it's not in parallel, it's not good for what the companies are looking for. So the skills we're taught in school are irrelevant nowadays. Sadly, many schools around the world are teaching using an outdated approach to education. They still teach and use a framework that prepares people for jobs in agriculture or manufacturing, repetitive jobs that are already performed by robots. Some schools today, though, they have a different approach, a project-based approach, in which they prepare young people to work in teams, to collaborate, to pitch their ideas, to have an argument, to critically analyze an argument. These sort of schools are a good symbol for what educational institutions should be all about. Because schools should not be a place where we teach young people to answer questions, they should be a place where we encourage them to ask the questions. Schools should be a place where they don't just prepare students for a secondary education or for work, but they prepare them for a better life. Because what's the point of education if not just prepare employees and further students, but to prepare better leaders, better politicians, better innovators. Finally, I think if we really focus on education, we won't just change the future of work or the future of education or skills, we will change our daily lives. And I'm not just talking motivational speech here, it's actually happening today in this world, because there's a country up in the north, in Scandinavia, Finland, who has been famous, I think, for some years in their educational approach. And what they did is, they recently pledged that by 2020, they will replace their traditional classroom approach, which already by Romanian standards is already quite evolved, to an approach that will focus on 4 essential skills. Sorry, this was just a quote that summarized my last point. 4 essential skills, which I believe, and recent research actually highly recommends, these are the skills that everybody will need in the future. And they're all soft skills, and they all look like quite mundane, like everybody has them. But actually no, if you really think about it, kids in today's world, they grow up with their phones in their hands, so communication is already an issue, face-to-face communication. Critical thinking, not encouraged in many of the schools in today's world, and the others I won't even mention. So the idea is, Finland is creating this school that will focus on these four soft skills. However, this is not enough. Finland is doing a great job for achieving this, but I think we need 3 other skills that will really make a person complete in the future. These skills, which I won't mention here in the visual part, but I'll just say it to you, there are 3 essential skills. Adaptability, we will need people to be almost like entrepreneurs, to really be ready to pivot at all stages in their lives. Also resilience, or grit, as it's also called. The opportunity to, and the skill to really go for adversity and still make it happen. And finally, this is my favorite one, and I think this is the key to all 7, continuous learning, and developing a muscle for continuous learning. Because what I notice is that today, in the 21st century, when you finish education at 24, you're not done with education. If you want to remain competitive in the job market, you have to educate yourself throughout your life. Also, degrees are already becoming outdated, because I believe now companies, and the company I work for also does this, they don't look at degrees so much anymore, because now you can get online degrees at Harvard or Oxford cheaply and easily. You don't have to be there in a face-to-face scenario. So I think more important will be the skills you can bring to the table, and companies are already recruiting based on skills, not on the diplomas. And finally, and really importantly regarding jobs, people will not have jobs that are for life. Maybe our grandparents or our parents had a career that was like a ladder. You go into a company when you're 24 and you stay there for your whole life. No, my generation, my brother's generation, who's a bit younger than me, they will job hop a lot. They will change careers every 2 or 3 years. This is what I call now the career jungle, not the career ladder anymore. To sum up this soft skills part, the last part of the presentation, the really important point that there will not be a shortage of jobs, so don't worry, you'll still have a job, but the problem is that you will not be probably prepared to really do it professionally, or not the point that is asked by companies. Preparing students for tomorrow's work involves not just the reforming of education, but the revolutionizing of the whole concept of what education is. Learning has to be tailored to the needs of each individual, and I think institutions are not yet doing this. And finally, schools should equip students with transferable skills, because they will have to job hop, as I just mentioned, so they'll have to be able to apply these transferable skills to different industries. To conclude, and I want to end in a happy note again, because I do believe there's a chance to maybe not fall in love with robots, but at least be in a good relationship with them. I believe history showed us that technology can have some great advantages it can bring some great advantages to humankind. However, also history showed us that when the times are changing, the time to act is now. So my message to you is to start equipping yourself with new skills, develop your muscle of continuous learning, and if there's one key sentence that I want you to take from this presentation is that you should never stop learning. Thank you.
Thank you. First question? Probably we're going to have nice to. Yep.
Hey, nice presentation. I have a question about the ethics thing that you mentioned, which is something that I've been thinking a lot about. So in journalism, we have codes of ethics, right? And how do you implement that in tech, where you don't necessarily know what you're making, how it's going to be used later on?
It's a good question. I think what happened recently, I'm going to try to answer your question. It's a really difficult one. I think what recently happened with the Cambridge Analytica scandal really brought up this issue of, the copyright agreement we all have to essentially sign, but nobody reads. I think my solution to this problem would be for tech companies, and again, I'm here as an educational consultant, not as somebody working for a tech company, so it's my personal opinion. Companies should start translating these agreements to people. Make them more visual, make them a one-page, agreement, not make it a 100-page or 200-page agreement. So I think by translating this elaborate information put together by lawyers, translating it to individuals, I think it's going to be a step taking us closer to what you're describing. I'm not sure if I answered your question, but I think this is the best solution I can come up with now.
Thank you. And the second question, the last.
Yeah, hello, nice presentation, thank you so much. I would just like to underline one thing. In 1900, 1920, the packaging industry was huge all over the world. With automation and with robots came the same fear as we are doing it, as we are feeling now with AI and this parts of stuff. But also came a lot of jobs, different jobs in high added value with creating the robots, with maintaining the robots, with improving the robots. So as soon as you start not fearing your job loss, but rather feel the opportunity of learning something new, of learning something to improve the state of fact, it's the thing and the view you can have on that.
So what's the question?
No, it was just a remark, because it was the transformation from industry 2.0 to 3.0 or something. It's a step. You never, if you never stop learning, you'll see the added value and gather the high valued transformation.
If I may, since you have a question, but I do get what you're saying. I had a really good question in Cape recently for an event I was invited by after in the front row. A really good question about what will happen to people who are no longer in their 30s or 20s, people who are maybe 50 years old who will be confronted with automation. This was a really good question that made me think of it. And the answer I gave then, I still give you now. I think companies, tech companies, but not just tech companies, should focus more on really having an impact in their communities where they have an office. Really trying to invest in the community, because if you think about it, if you have these 50-year-olds or 60-year-old people who are displaced from their jobs, we will have riots in the streets. So companies should have they should play a bigger stake in reskilling the population to prepare them for this future they help create.
Cool. Thank you very much, David.